did a little better at their shot. He was just wounded. But the truth is, I'm not mad at him. But I'll tell you who I am mad at, and that's my government for allowing that to happen. I've been to the funerals of these people. I've been to the funerals of Phoenix, a sanctuary city. By the way, do you know sanctuary cities are illegal? It's against the law to have a policy that restricts law enforcement from enforcing the law. 8 U.S.C. 1644 and 1373 prohibit it. Yeah, we have them all over. California is kind of the poster child for that. L.A., San Diego, San Francisco. They're illegal, yet Obama doesn't sue them, does he? But his jihad, and I think that's the proper term for this man, his jihad against Arizona is outrageous, and I'll get into what else is going on there in a minute. But anyways, you start this battle of recognizing your duty, like I started to talk about. It's been a long, long battle. And by the way, just to finish, Sean is all right. He's fine. He's back at work. He's doing what he loves to do, and that's going after bad guys. And I'm lucky he's alive, because as I look around, like I say, 12 Phoenix police officers have been shot and killed and maimed by illegal aliens, 12 over a period of time. Young lady that I know was killed, murdered by an illegal alien. Just graduated from ASU, a graduate in criminal justice. Chris Miller, a young man killed by an illegal alien. Tracy Kelly, 17-year-old high school student from Highland High School, not far from me. Beautiful young lady killed. 15-year-old kidnapped and raped in Guadalupe. 15-year-old raped in Scottsdale. Just sentenced a guy to 169 years for raping small children, little girls, breaking into homes, illegal alien. What is our duty? What is the cost of not enforcing our laws? In Arizona, it's $2.7 billion a year to educate, medicate, and incarcerate illegal aliens. 26-year high in unemployment, but we think it's okay for folks to come in and steal jobs for Americans, even those so-called good folks looking for a better way of life. There's 5 billion people worse off than Mexico. You have to have rules. You've got to know who's coming. You have a right, an obligation to know who's coming. Now, the first 150 years of this country, we didn't have those rules because there was nobody living here in a lot of land. It's not the case today. We also weren't a welfare state back then. Enough is enough. So in this battle, and again, Rick Alba down here has worked with me when we started the Citizens Initiative back in 04, and actually started in 03. Had a governor, you guys might have heard about her, Janet Napolitano. And she is your Homeland Security Director now. You can certainly be proud of that. So anyway, we started a battle. She vetoed a simple little bill to require ID at the polls. Simple little bill. Well, I thought that was pretty important to show ID at the polls. I've got to show 2 forms of ID to get a blockbuster movie. I thought voting ought to be on the same par. So anyway, I called some friends of mine, had them then, into my office, just 4 of us. And I said, here's what we're going to do. We have a citizens initiative like you do in California, Ability. We're going to go to the citizens. Now, again, that's a tough hurdle. It takes a lot of money, a lot of work. We had no money, but we thought we had enough people that would get behind this. And we put together a citizens initiative, Proposition 200 in 04. It was passed overwhelmingly in 04, and it did 3 things. Required proof of citizenship before you register to vote. The only state in the nation that does that today. The only state. Rather amazing. And anyway, it did second thing, required ID at the polls. When you come there, not only must you have proven behind that, then we want to know you're the guy that proved you were a citizen, and I want to see some ID before you vote. And then it was no public benefits for those who are in this country illegally. We only made 2 exceptions, and that's because we didn't agree with them. It's just that that's another court battle, and that's overturning Plyler v. Doe. You know, children go to K through 12. It's not a law. It was a court decision in '82 by the Berger Court, a 5-4 decision that you should have failed law school if you wrote such a decision. But anyway, it still stands today. So anyway, and then in EMTALA, the federally mandated that you take virtually, doesn't say that, but they believe you virtually have to take everybody who walks into an emergency room. It only had to do with life-stabling position. We're a humane country, that we don't let people die. I agree with that. I think we all agree with that. But it's been abused. So anyway, we passed that. A lot of work. Rick helped us at the end, or we wouldn't have made it. You know, Fair came in with some money. We were running a little short. Time was running out. We were a little fearful we wouldn't get it on. We tried to do all this without money. We thought we'd be the first one ever in the history of Arizona to get a citizens initiative on the ballot without spending money, without paying for paid signature gatherers. We're a little worried where we're making that. So we appreciated Fair stepping in and helping us at the end. We might have not made it. And that was too risky. Well, it passed overwhelmingly. The Arizona Chamber of Commerce and Moldoff and the ACLU and others joined hands in suing us. First of all, they spent $1.5 million trying to kill it at the ballot box. They failed. We passed overwhelmingly. Then they line up, and the list about this long, but they're at the top of it, sued us, trying to stop it, simply to prevent welfare fraud and voting fraud. That's how far they'll go to ensure that they have the cheap labor they want or the political power with open borders and change the political makeup of America through demographics. These two groups have joined hands, open border and cheap labor, crowd profits over patriotism, to thwart any effort we make to secure our borders and enforce our laws. So that started the big battle. And Tom Tancredo tells me, and good friends with Tom, and he called me, and that's when we got to be good friends during that battle. And he said, this is the earthquake that shook America. And the reason why, very simple, it's about states' rights. This business of sitting on the sideline, pointing fingers at the federal government like we can't do anything, has never, ever been the case. There has never been a preemption by the federal government for enforcing these laws. Now let me go farther. I mentioned earlier we're citizens of the several states who created the federal government. It's not delegated authority. It's inherent authority in the Constitution. It's inherent in that document. States have inherent authority over federal government and federal law as if it was written into state statute. And we allow them to get away with making us believe that's not true. The 5th, the 6th, the 8th, the 9th, the 10th Circuit Courts have all codified that. 5 years ago, the United States Supreme Court in Mueller versus Mina, a decision that slapped down the 9th Circuit Court decision out of San Francisco, where they said to the gal, imagine this, they were doing a search warrant on a gal named Mina in her place on drugs and stuff. And anyway, they went so far in this search warrant that they actually asked her where she's from. I know that's a tough question, and it should never be allowed in an American society. But anyway, the courts actually slapped down and said that was a flawed decision by the 9th Circuit Court, and said absolutely they have a right to ask. As often as you ask about your age, your date of birth, and where do you live, you have a right to ask where you're actually from. And they said, and you can actually act on that information. Wow, what a novel idea. We've always known that, but finally the courts recognized it. A great decision. It raised all these myths, you know, about you need permission. 287G, everybody hears about that. You don't need a 287G. Has nothing to do with authority. It's post-arrest. Has to do with, because the law does allow only the federal government to make final disposition for purposes of deportation. That's what a 287G is about, and for lengthy investigation, and you can get some training others. It's meant to be a carrot, not a permission slip. You don't need a permission slip. These policies are illegal. Congress, in fact, has passed several laws empowering states, created a law enforcement hotline to call and ask. Why would they do that if they didn't want you to call and ask? And 95% of the time, it's simply a phone call. Simply a phone call. It's not difficult. So anyway, the battle rages. And so then in 2006, they put 4 ballot initiatives on the Arizona ballot. By the way, on illegal aliens, they passed by 75%. Folks, you can't get to 75% unless you cross all demographic, all political, and those sort of lines that everybody talks about. 60% of Hispanics voted for him. Over half of the Democrats voted for him. 85% of Republicans voted for him. You know, this business of thinking that some reason, you know, I mean, it's really interesting to me because the Democrats in our legislature never vote for any of this stuff. Never vote for any of it. Yet their constituents, by over 50%, support that. about time they wake up that they're being thrown under the train by their own folks. And I think they're starting to do that a little bit, I hope, anyway. So anyway, those passed. One of them was simply no bail, the constitutional amendment, no bail for illegal aliens who commit serious crime. Another one was a little bit of a tort reform. No punitive damages for anybody who sues an American, any illegal alien that sues an American citizen. Third was if English is the official language in Arizona. All three of those, all three of those were constitutional amendments. Then we passed a little third one because Governor Napolitano, your Homeland Security Director, and Terry Goddard, who now wants to be governor, did a backdoor veto on part of Proposition 200 and refused to implement the part on no benefits for illegal aliens. So we've added a little if you want, mini Prop 200 on there called Prop 300, and it said no in-state tuition. First of all, you know it's actually illegal for them to attend higher ed. Actually, federal law, it's illegal. But then again, they don't read the bills, they don't read the law, they don't read the Constitution. I didn't expect in Washington for them to really know that. But anyway, it is illegal. But in Arizona, we made it illegal also for you to get at least state-paid, taxpayer-paid benefits. No in-state tuition, no grants, no taxpayer subsidies at all of any form, no daycare. Again, it's felony to hire somebody. Why would you take care of their kids for them to commit a felony to get a job? I know that that's foreign language to Washington, but we actually think there needs to be a little consistency in how we apply things. And then the third issue was simply no adult classes for illegal aliens. Well, then in 2007, I wrote a legislation again called the Arizona Legal Workers Act. Actually, the real name is the Arizona Fair and Legal Workers Employment Act. And that was to go after employers. And again, by the way, been sued 7 times under Prop 200 from 04. 7 times been to court. We've won 7 times, including the Ninth Circuit Court. You can actually win there occasionally. On employer sanctions passed in 07, we've been to court 5 times. Actually won a unanimous decision at the Ninth Circuit Court. So we've been successful there. So, and I'll get to the 1070, and I think I'm probably past my time almost early. Anyway, so it's been a long battle, but it's taken back America. It's about states' rights. This is much more than just the immigration issue, although that's paramount. The crime, the corruption, the cost, the loss of jobs, the destruction of the rule of law, all of that is critical and paramount. And this is a battle of epic proportion. And now, the first time ever, well, let me jump ahead. I'm getting too hurried here. I don't want to abuse my time too bad. I'm going to abuse the sun, I can tell. But anyway, I want you to know that we passed that and we were sued and we've been to court and we prevailed. And it's made a difference. And the press will never print that, but since we passed employer sanctions bill in 2007, we have saved actually $350 million in K-12 alone for the diminishing population. Let me tell you what else happens when you pass these laws and you work on them. You know, then we went, and then again, by the way, the governor did sign that, and your Homeland Security Director. The only reason she signed it because I had a citizens initiative going on that one also that was much tougher. The deal was, I'll sign this if you stop that. So she signed it, not because she liked it or wanted it. In fact, her comment was, you know, this feels like a gun to my head. I said, I'm a Second Amendment guy. I'm okay with that. So anyway, so she did sign it. So then last year, and actually I introduced in different numbers because it's different years, but 1070 was not my first attempt to introduce this. I ran this bill in 05, 06, 07, 08, 09, and 2010 before I had a governor that would sign it. Although she worried me a little bit. Sat on it for 5 days, debated whether to sign it. I wore the phone out between my phone and her office. She did sign it, and I'm grateful since she signed it, she has been vigilant in its defense. And let me tell you what else we did. Yeah, because we had an Attorney General, again, the same one that neutered Proposition 200, refused to implement it. He also stood on the doorsteps and talked against 1070. Told a bad law. It was unconstitutional. So I thought maybe it might be a little problem having him as the guy at the table defending it. So in the bill, knowing that, what I did is I put a little provision in Arizona, and I think California is similar. The duties of our Attorney General are simply those that are given to them by the legislature. So, and remember the debate? I don't know if any of you kept appraised of that debate. But anyway, there was a debate whether the governor or the attorney general would be the defender of this bill. And he came up and said, I can defend it. I know I was against it, but I can still defend it. And then he stepped out as if it was very decorous. And I really appreciate